First video of a brand new set. Woo!
That's right. It is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and I hope you're ready to go on an adventure with us right now as we talk about all of the variants from Magic the Gathering's newest set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Magic the Gathering's Dungeons the Dragons is Forgotten Realms. Video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Shop at TCG Player using our link in the description below and directly help our channel.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We are going to talk about the variants in our upcoming set, Forgotten Realms. Journey to the Forgotten Realms, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. I don't even know what the set is called, but before we get into the variants of the set, if you would, consider hitting that like button if you like the video. By the end of it, hit that dislike button if you don't.
It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button, and spoiler, Joel knows what the set is called. He's just joking around.
Dungeons and Dragons is Magic the Gathering's set of the Forgotten Realms. Let's look at these variants. All right, Jake, we've got a similar thing rocking with the Forgotten Realms. What is that? Seriously, what is it called? Adventures? Okay.
Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
All right.
A D&D throwback to D&D from the 80s, I believe, right?
I believe D&D from any time.
D&D from throughout the years.
Now that we've explained the set to you, we have got some variants to talk about. We have got the same thing working. Let's shoot down here. We got borderless cards, y'all. Borderless cards in collector boosters. That's going to be a thing forever now. They have alternate art. They are borderless. You know them. You love them. We've also got extendos. The whole,
yes.
Oh, look, I pulled a dope card, but it's still only $1 treatment. And our special cards, Jake, for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, a D&D throwback to the 80s D&D only the 80s D&D. We've got rulebook cards, Jake, and we've got module cards, Jake. Out of the gate, before we break into these specifically, Jake, what is your impression of the look of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms?
I like it. It's simple, it's basic. I like the color scheme. Just my gut right out the gate. I like it.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. I think it really captures the flavor. I saw somebody tweet today, I love when a set can capture the flavor without trying, without forcing it. It just looks like it's not throwing it in your face. And that to me seems really spot on with this set so far. It's kind of subtle. Obviously, there's nothing subtle about how these lands work. I have a terrible example of it while I'm talking about it, but let's look into some of the specifics. We know what borderless cards look like. We've got some of the crazy cards that have been previewed so far. I mean, those were our extendos, our extendees, if you like to call them those. First up, we've got our borderless, Jake, and we know that we're always going to get these borderless alternate planeswalkers.
Yes.
But the other big cycle it seems like we've got is dragons.
Yeah, and you can see and expect this to be a little bit like Ikoria. You see this green dragon over here that's uncommon? Expect that to pop up at an uncommon rate in collector boosters, this extended card, that, or also in set boosters, draft boosters. It's pretty historic that we have seen extended cards pop up throughout all different products. So I would imagine that Wizards of the Coast stays the course with that. It just gives regular booster packs a little bit more flair. And also expect this product to be dialed back in price from Modern Horizons 2, as this is meant to be played in Standard. However, I do see a lot of very obvious EDH playability. People like dragons. This will be a heavily sought after set.
Yeah, I do like that we're getting some, just like solid puncher dragons, and they represent some variants within the dragon tribe for your like 5-color EDH dragon deck. I really love this. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of them look like. We're doing an early reaction once we got enough cards to really see what the set was going to look and feel like. So those are pretty consistent from set to set. What is unique to these set, Jake, is our 2 showcase frames.
Yes.
We've got our not storybook, that's Eldraine. We've got rulebook, because it's Dungeons and Dragons from the 80s specifically, and we've got modules. Jake, let's first talk about our rulebook frame, the showcase rulebooks. What are you thinking?
Yeah, like I said, I really do like these. I like that they're all a similar motif. You know, they're very, you know, you could tell that they're a theme. They're part of a set. They all look very fun. I have always had an affinity ever since I was a child to the art on the Baleful Beholder, or just the Beholder in general, which is just, you know, this very iconic, scary eye. We've fought stuff like this in World of Warcraft, but it all pretty much was derived from D&D. You know, World of Warcraft is like taking D&D and bringing it into an MMO. But yeah, I really love the art on this. It really is like a throwback. I actually play D&D. We've played before. I'm in a campaign right now, and it's a really fun time. It's not my favorite game in the world, but I do like to see D&D brought to MTG.
Your D&D group right now is looking at you going, what the hell, man? We have fun when we do that. And you're like,
I have a great time. It's not my favorite game in the world. Everybody knows what that is. Leave it in the comments.
This Baleful Beholder is a great one that you brought up, Jake, because it shows another, I'm going to call it aesthetic choice. It is more of a rules thing, but from an aesthetic, we have on these cards, a bunch of the cards in the set, this is just a good example of it, these abilities, these italicized abilities that look like they are almost keyword abilities for MTG, but they're using a bunch of random ones to represent abilities that different cards have. You'll have certain spells that'll give you choices, like Baleful Beholder is going to give you the choice to either, when it enters the battlefield, cast Anti-Magic Cone or cast Fear Ray. I think that's another really excellent flavor touch for this set, because I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to pay 2 black and 4 for Baleful Beholder. When it ETBs, I'm going to Anti-Magic Cone, so everybody sacking enchantment. That just feels cool to say.
Dude, and also, that ability in black is nuts. I see this card being very desirable. You do not normally get enchantment removal in black. That is really, really cool to see.
That's a really good point. I zoomed out a while ago because I wanted to give like an almost, 30,000 foot view look at this aesthetic, because it took this for me. I remember when all we really had was like Brunor and Drizzt, right? We've got these two, and that's how we sort of saw the set.
Sure.
And we didn't really get it at first. But I think, personally, having seen all of these together and seeing what they're going for, seeing that they do have sort of like a unified look across them, like you were saying, I think that was one of my least favorite parts of the sketch variant from Modern Horizons 2, was that you could see that the border was unified and there was a general aesthetic, but to me, these look like a more whole, complete, set of showcase frames in a set where they are just delivering the flavor. I mean, talking about those keyword abilities, gelatinous cube, man, we can either engulf, and when it enters the battlefield, we engulf a non-ooze creature an opponent controls, or you've also got dissolve. And so that's what I'm saying. They've taken the names of spells from D&D and made those MTG keywords without needing to have, all right, we need 30 cards that have, dissolve and engulf on them.
Sure. Oh yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. It's funny, but I don't know why. For some reason, I felt like gelatinous cube should have been green. Is that weird? Maybe I attributed it to an ooze, right? Yeah,
I think it's more of the color of the thing that you normally see. It's normally a big green cube. But yeah, as a black card, I think overall, the aesthetic of these got a big thumbs up from me. These are cards that I would be excited to pull. Here we're seeing rares, uncommons, commons. I don't think that they are skipping mythic in this slot. So I will be very interested to see what our showcase rulebook cards are in mythic.
I want to speak for a second on the price of these cards. Just historically, there's going to be a lot of our subscribers that already know this information. But for anybody who might be watching right now, who might be new, you're just jumping into MTG because D&D is your thing and you want to try it out. Don't spring for like high prices on these cards when this set first comes out. Expect a lot of these cards to drop in price, as this will be a heavily printed set and there's going to be a lot of overlap in fandoms. So I would anticipate Wizards of the Coast prints a lot of it, and we do see a lot of these uncommons and these rares popping up, like all of the variants from MTG's recent sets.
Yeah, of course. And this whole set is going to be presented at a lower price than Modern Horizons 2, if that's one of the first Magic sets that you encountered. So these aren't going to have the same sort of like I'm opening up lottery cards feel, even though you're still going to have some really big hits. If you look backwards at Kaldheim, I really compare these two sets very closely. Strixhaven had the entire Mystical Archive thing inside of it, and so that had a little bit of a reprint set. I'm looking for lottery tickets feel to it.
Yeah,
this one's
Demonic
not going to
Tutor,
have
Time Warp, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
This one's not going to have the same kind of thing, but you're going to be opening up really dope versions of the cards from the set, and I think you will still have some desirables. We're going to have a whole video about this rare cycle of lands, the modules that we're getting. We're going to cover those specifically when we've seen the last one. We haven't even seen the green one yet, but I think that we can talk about the aesthetic now and say that, holy crap, this is a lot, Jake. When I first looked at this, I kind of had a hard time parsing what was going on.
Yeah, at first glance, you think that you're looking at like the cover of an old 80s book, kind of, right? You know, but no, that is an Evolving Wilds that we're looking at there, or this is a Cave of the Frost Dragon, an adventure for character levels 17 through 20. So this should remind you of like one of the old D&D books that you would pick up when you're doing a campaign, you know, like I think it's a really neat aesthetic, and it does remind me of like when we, you know, I always reference this set, but we had the expeditions that came out of Battle for Zendikar. We had the masterpieces that came out of Kaladesh and Aether Revolt. But then when we got to those invocations, it was such a departure, and there was so much backlash. And now look at how far we've come as far as these variants. This is such a huge, just massive departure. I don't even know. I would love to know in the comments what, maybe like Party Hard, Shred Harder. Maybe like those band cards are more of a departure than this, but this is like wildly different art. Oh yeah, just wildly different.
You're definitely onto something there, because my next point was going to be that this looks like secret layer cards inside 100%. Of a set. And so you're absolutely on the money saying that we've just been getting primed for this. We get this version, they take it a little further, they have a secret layer come out that takes it so far that when we get something like this, we go, oh yeah, this is normal now. We understand what we're seeing, even if it's hard to parse. These look like almost reduced art alternates, or like expanded nameplate alternates, so that they can include all this stuff up here and make it look like an old book from the 80s. I do want to talk about it because you mentioned it, Jake. This Evolving Wilds, it is a common, but it is a very cool looking version of a widely played card. So do you think this is the kind of common foil in this treatment that people are going to be after?
Yeah, I would guess so. I would imagine that they would. But at this point, we just have such, a massive amount of different variants for everything, right? You know, there's an Evolving Wilds that came out of the Bob Ross lands. There's all these different Evolving Wilds from throughout MTG. Will this be one of the most pimp ones? Yeah, I would imagine so. And I do think that probably in the future, I mean, look at all of them, right? Yeah, oh my gosh, was I wrong about the Bob Ross one? I'm pretty sure the Bob Ross one was an Evolving Wilds, if I recall
we've got
correctly.
I do think we have a Bob Ross Evolving Wilds. Now I'm trying to look at very tiny names. Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
We absolutely have one. But I would say, I mean, as far as departure, it's like we already said, these look so far of a departure. They are almost like the Party Hard, Shred Harder. I think that's a great comp for these, because look, you know,
right?
Look at taking a high view of all the variants of Evolving Wilds. Which one do you think is the module?
And somebody's like, what is a Yu-Gi-Oh card doing in there? Right?
Right, exactly. I do think it's very cool, though. I think that I am already a big fan of the flavor that the variants are putting forward in this. I know that Kaldheim's variants, you know, which is the other set I would really compare this to as far as collectability goes. I know that they had the Nordic frame and I loved that, but I really think flavor wise this is a home run, and I'm super excited to see the rest of this set.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at as well. You know, we're not covering spoilers in this video. We're just kind of talking about the art at first glance. We will cover spoilers once we see more of the set. We're able to talk about it. But yeah, it really is interesting. And, you know, I'm going to have to see what the prices look like when this set comes out to see if I'm going to spring for it. But I really do like what they're doing. I like these risks that they're taking. I like the overlap. you know, I don't really care if everybody's decks, you know, look different and have random variants and stuff like that. It doesn't affect the play of the game. So, yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's cool.
Let us know what you think in the comments below of all of our showcase frames from our Forgotten Realms adventure. Other than that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Jake, I'm tapped out.
Yes, we are going to cover adventures in the Forgotten Realms, much more. So make sure you're subscribed for that.